Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rechak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Jeremiah, the 24th chapter. And in here, the Lord shows Jeremiah this similitude of baskets of figs and their significance in representing the Israel, right? And the let me just say the two ways the Lord would deal with the remnant of Israel or Judah that were either left in the land or taken captive to Babylon. So this is Jeremiah chapter 24, verse 1. The Lord Yahweh shewed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs were set before the temple of the Lord Yahweh. Now, let's look up here, figs, fruit, just so you get so more or less something like this. Okay. So they're fruits. And so Jeremiah sees, these 2 baskets before the temple and how the Lord is showing it to him. After that, in Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the princes of Judah, with the carpenters and smiths from Jerusalem, and had brought them to Babylon. So remember that I believe the 22nd chapter or so, we went into how the different sons of Josiah, right, had who reigned after him and so on, and we described how Jeconiah, right, or Jehoiakim, was taken captive to Babylon. Okay, so him, right, along with some of, as it says here, the princes, some of the nobility, the carpenters, the smiths, those that were useful, right, that had skills in trades, were sent to Babylon, and obviously they would be used to better the empire, the Babylonian Empire, because they were, in essence, utilizing resources there. But the Lord had it done on purpose, right? Because you had the first batch, I believe, which was with Daniel, right, the 3 holy children and the rest that were taken. And then you had the second time around with Jehoiakim or Jeconiah and others that were also taken. And I believe Ezekiel was of this batch, if I'm remembering correctly. But the Lord had that done on purpose, as this similitude he gives is going to expound upon. So verse 2, 1 basket had very good figs, even like the figs that are first ripe. So figs that were good, edible, nice and good to eat. And the other basket had very naughty figs. Naughty meaning it was basically like rotten or bad, which could not be eaten. They were so bad, right? So they were so bad you couldn't eat them. Then said the Lord Yahweh unto me, what seest thou, Jeremiah? Lord loves asking that. He shows you something and then he asks, what do you see? Typically because he is going to either via an angel or whatnot, but expound upon what that actually means or represents. And I said, figs, and good figs, very good, and the evil, very evil, that cannot be eaten, they are so evil. So he said, I see, basically, you have some figs that are very good, they look really, really good, and then some that are just so bad you can't eat it. Again, the word of the Lord Yahweh came on to me, saying, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, the God of Israel, like these good figs, so will I acknowledge them that are carried away captive of Judah, whom I have sent out of this place into the land of the Chaldeans for their good. See? So the Lord said, yeah, they were taken captive, right? Now, it wasn't every single one, because you still had wicked Israelites amongst the ones that were taken captive. But the Lord had those that he would have mercy upon be taken captive to Babylon for their good. So they would be likened unto the good figs in the basket. For I will set mine eyes upon them for good, and I will bring them again into this land, and I will build them, and will not pull them down, and I will plant them, and not pluck them up. So the Lord likened them onto, basically, he was going to preserve them. So by taking them to Babylon, they would serve captivity over there, but eventually, in process of time, as we know, when the Lord raised up Cyrus, and he ended up taking down the Neo-Babylonian Empire and taking it over, he ended up allowing Israel to go back, right, return to their land and rebuild the temple and so on, right? However, verse 7, and I will give them an heart to know me, that I am the Lord Yahweh, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. And when you read, when you go through the other books around this time, when Israel was allowed to go back, not every single one went, but there were some, as the scripture worded it, whose hearts or whose spirits the Lord had stirred up towards him, all right, who with zeal went back to begin the rebuilding of the temple of the Lord. So as it says here, and I will be their God, for they shall return unto me with their whole heart. And as for the evil figs, which cannot be eaten, they are so evil. Surely, thus saith the Lord Yahweh. Now, what you see here is that even though, right, the Lord was mentioning he's going to bring judgment, he's going to bring judgment upon the land and the inhabitants of it and make it desolate, for those that he would have mercy on, even in the judgment, right, there's a way where and how he preserves them. When you look at Daniel, for example, the Lord had him taken out of the land, right, the first go around, before he even decided to bring the armies there and besiege it and so on and so forth. So Daniel was in Babylon, and the Lord had him and the wise men, right, the three holy children and so on, in a good position, right? So the Lord always finds a way, even when he brings judgment, to preserve and deliver those that he grants favor to. So back here, verse 8, now on the other hand, the evil figs, the Lord said, right, verse 8, and as the evil figs, which cannot be eaten, they are so evil. Surely thus saith the Lord Yahweh, so will I give Zedekiah the king of Judah, and his princes, and the residue of Jerusalem that remain in this land, and them that dwell in the land of Egypt, and I will deliver them to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt. So the Lord likened Zedekiah and, like it says, his princes and the wicked ones that were left in the land to this basket of like rotten figs. Okay. And he basically says, I'm gonna give them over, right, as it says here, to be removed into all kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, meaning not for their benefit. They would either die or be sold, right? Or obviously some of them would be sent as captives, but a good portion of them would be slain. So as it says here, to be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse in all places whither I shall drive them. And I will send the sword and famine. So when the enemy came to lay siege, this time to destroy the Jerusalem, they were likened unto the sword that was without, and the famine was what the Lord hit them with those that were within, that were trying to hold up in the siege. And the pestilence among them, which the Lord sent as well, till they be consumed from off the land that I gave unto them and to their fathers. So this is the similitude the Lord gave as to the division he made between the two. Now, as I mentioned, this is like almost in majority speaking. So it doesn't mean that every single Israelite that was taken away captive was a good fig, and every single Israelite that was left in the land was a rotten fig, because you still had, when you read the book of Ezekiel, the Lord had him prophesying, right, to Israelites, and some of the ones he was prophesying to, they were wicked. When you read the story of Susanna with the two wicked elders who wanted to commit adultery with her, and then the Lord raised up Daniel to be a righteous judge and basically have them found for their evil ways, guess where they were? Captives in Babylon. So technically they would have also been like a part of the those that were removed from the land and sent over there to Babylon. But it doesn't mean that they were righteous. So not every single one of them. That's why I mentioned majority. And likewise, when you look at those that were still left in the land, Jeremiah was left in the land, right? Habakkuk was left in the land. Where do you think he was when the angel came to him and sent him over to Daniel in Babylon to feed him? Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind there with how the Lord, sometimes what he means, right, by the wording. Anyway, that brings us to the end of Jeremiah, the 24th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachak, Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.